Hello, my name is Clive Mukundu. Every 22nd of January every year, I celebrate my entry into the music industry. The following video that I'm going to post will explain why. So to celebrate this milestone, I'm sharing a video that chronicles my journey from the days that I started up to today. So sit back and relax and enjoy.
Respect an older man in a profession where most quit early or die young.
Padiwatariri ndiye mukomana wedu wemuno Mukundu anoridza gitari richikosora, richiyetsura, richitaura.
My official name is Clive Mukundu, and Mono is just a nickname.
Saka Mono akavo?
I used to have a single dreadlock when I was still in school.
Right.
So that single dreadlock is the one which was called a monologue. I was born on Tuesday, the 15th of September 1970 in the small town of Rusape at Rusape General Hospital. As soon as I was born, I was brought to Mfakose in Harare. So that's where I grew up, between Mfakose, Kambuzuma and Kwadza. From my mother's side, we are 6. My sister Cleopatra is the firstborn, and I'm the second-born. Then my sister Stella, who is now Mrs. Mamvura. And then after Stella comes Sharon, she's late now. Then after Sharon comes Portia Nyarai. After Portia Nyarai comes Denford, who is the 61. And then my father had another marriage where he had Linda and then Audrey. So we are 8 all in all. I went to a total of 8 schools. The first one was St. Columbus Primary School in Rusape. That's where I did my grade 1. Then the second one is Kurai Primary School in Kambuzuma. That's where I did my grade 2 to grade 6 first term. And then the third school is Mutare Junior School. That's where I did my grade 6 second term. And then my fourth school is Victoria Junior School in Masvingo. That's where I did my grade 6 third term. And then for my grade 7, I did just 2 weeks at a school called Marinda Primary School in Gutu. It was just for 2 weeks. And then for the rest of my grade 7, I went back to Kurai Primary School in Kambuzuma. Then for my Form 1, I did it Kambuzuma High School. That's Kambuzuma number 1 high school. Then for my Form 2, I did it at Mkombami Secondary School in Murewa, the Chikwaka. For my Form 3 and Form 4, I did it Mfakose number 3 high school in Mfakose. So that's a total of 8 schools. I did my National Certificate in Music at the College of Music in 2001. It was a 2-year certificate, 2001 and 2002. In 2019, I enrolled for a degree with MSU. It's a music business, musicology and technology degree, and I graduated in 2022 on the 2nd of December. I started off by making a homemade tin guitar when I was around age 9, 10. My guitar magarona, you take a tin and then you put a plank. The plank was your bar, and then you put fishing lines as your strings. And I remember the time I was playing with my childhood friends. Jonas Yenge is late now, and Jerry Parwada. So we formed our own childhood band called JCJ. It was just child's play, but it was a sign of things to come in the future. Then at age 13, that's when I discovered that I could compose songs. That's when I started writing songs, and I still have my first songbook. This is my very first songbook. But by the time I was in Form 3, the time that I formed my first band, I'd written more than 200 songs. Composing music is the first thing that I could do before I could play any instrument. And all the songs were reggae music, because at that time I was so much into reggae music. It's old, but it's still intact. Everything is still there. Even the lyrics are still there. On Wednesday, the 20th of January 1988, I met a guy by the name of Last Saidi. Just by chance, he'd come to see his girlfriend in Kwadzana. So he was waiting for his girlfriend, and we met, and I introduced myself. I told him I wanted to learn guitar, blah, blah, blah. And he invited me to his place. So on Friday, the 22nd of January 1988, that's when I visited him, and I got my very first lesson on a proper guitar. My father used to live in Seke, Unit M, so my mother used to send me to get school fees. So I would drop off in St. Mary's, get some lessons, and then I would foot to Unit M. It's a long distance, but I had a lot of dedication. So after several trips to Mr. Saidi's house, I finally managed to be able to play something meaningful, because I used to practice a lot. So sometime in 1988, I met a guy by the name of Chiketsa. His real name was Noah Muringai, and Edson December. And we formed our first band. It was called Sarungano Chanters. I was the composer, I was the lead vocalist, and by that time I was now able to play rhythm guitar. So Chiketsa was playing lead guitar, but because I was practicing a lot and learning a lot from Chiketsa, by the end of the year I was the lead guitarist and Chiketsa was now the rhythm guitarist. Wednesday, the 14th of December 1988, that's the day that we played for the first time in front of a crowd. We went to Club Hideout 99. There was a group called Sekuru Wojko in the Seasons, and we asked for a jam session. And then we just played about 2-3 songs, and we were so happy we've managed to play in front of a crowd, and we felt like we're now proper musicians. And I remember that day we finished the session sometime after midnight, and we footed from Club Hideout 99 to back to Mfakose, where we slept, and it rained heavily. But when I was far for the first time. Then following year 1989, we started having practice sessions at Mr. Serostino's house in Zawara Sekwa. Both were getting ready to do auditions, and that time it was very difficult to come across instruments, especially electric guitars. So we had to travel to Zawara Sekwa, and that's why we met Chandafira Nyirizani, the drummer. That's when he joined us. He was Serostino's brother. So we rehearsed and we started going for auditions. I would foot from Kwadzana, pick the guys in Fakos, and then we walked to Grammar Records in Southerton, where we did the auditions. And then after the auditions, we'd walk back home. But Nitaono Mari would get a bus to Southerton and then foot back home. And with this group, we did more than 10 auditions, and all of the auditions failed. By the end of 1989, a number of my band members were discouraged, so we disbanded. Then towards the end of 1989, I joined a group which was forming in Kwadzana called Chax Brothers. I also joined at the same time with Admayaka Senga. He was a security guard and he used to live in the same area. So we joined at the same time. The sponsor, who was called Mr. Chaukura, he said we should have a band leader in this group. We can't just run without a band leader. And everybody voted me to be the band leader. Then on Saturday, the 29th of November 1989, we did our first show. It was at a hotel called Makumbe Hotel in Dema in Seke. That was my first full show, and I was very happy to have played a full show. And so I felt like right now I'm now a musician, I'm now a proper musician. So in March 1990, the sponsor thought that it would be better if we moved to Norton and combine with Mr. Jackson Piri. So we moved to Norton. So we had about 3 segments in the group. Mr. Jackson Piri will do some soul music, Admayaka Senga will do some sungura, and I will do some mbira and some reggae. So it was a tight group, but the problem is we did not have recorded music which was playing on air. So we experienced a lot of flops. We had no money for food. I remember we would eat roasted maize, maputa for breakfast, for lunch and supper. Things were bad. So after a show that we did on Friday, the 27th of April 1990, which was a flop again, I decided, you know what, I think I have to go back home. So I went back home to Kwadzana and left the band. Then in June 1990, a young man by the name of Metes Chikokoko approached me and said that he had signed a contract with a hotel in Mutare that was looking for a resident band to play at the hotel. They'll be living at the hotel, eating hotel food, and they'll be paid by the hotel. It was so enticing. So I joined forces with him, and I recruited my band member from my first group, Chiketsa. And he also recruited George Karumaura, who was brother to Ephraim Karumaura, who used to play for Thomas Mafumu. And we moved to Mutare. He introduced us to a drummer called Ronald Mshaba, who became our drummer. We used to call him Sama because he was the only one who spoke with a Samanyika accent in the group. But when we got to Mutare, there was no contract, there was no hotel. The guy was just lying, anything. We didn't even have anywhere to sleep. So all the 6 of us, we went to his brother's house in Dangamvura. And his brother was already looking after a number of people, so we were crowded at the brother's house. And we tried to look for sponsorship. We tried to look for clubs to play for. The first audition that we held was at a club in Sakuba. Before we went on stage, I asked him, so what are we going to play? Because we haven't rehearsed anything. And then he said to me, the songs that you used to play with your first band, Sarungano Chantas, just play those instrumentals. And then I'll just sing anything. The guys will just come in. So we just went on stage and did that. I just played my songs, but we failed to get a place to play. So later on, I heard about a man called Johnny who used to own instruments in Dangamvura. So I approached Johnny and we started working with Johnny. And on Friday, the 22nd of June 1990, we held our show at Nyanyadzi Hotel in Nyanyadzi. And we did a number of shows, but the problem is some of the shows flopped badly. So we wouldn't get paid. But when we had shows that paid well, like after we play at a place for the second time or third time, people would be knowing us, so they would come. If the money is good, Mr. Jan would take a lot of expenses maybe to cover up for the days that we had flopped. At the end of the day, we'd go back home with nothing. So we started discussing with the Twitter, say, what are we supposed to do? And then Mr. Jani overheard us, and then he fired us, and we were back to square one. Then I heard somebody talk about a place in Penhalonga called Chingwe that was looking for a resident band. So I went to Chingwe and I spoke to the councillor, and the councillor said, yes, we are looking for a band. We want a resident band. We are going to give you accommodation, but the money that we are going to pay you is very little. We are a small council, we don't have much money. The money was so little, but it was better than living at Matthias' brother's house. So on Friday, the 31st of August 1990, we moved to Chingwe as a band, and we started playing at Chingwe Bar. For 3 months, we stayed there for 3 months. Everything was okay except the money. Then later on, I heard that Dangamvura Hotel was now looking for a resident band. So I went to Dangamvura and I spoke to the manager, and they said, yes, we are looking for a resident band, but this is the money that we'll be paying you. And the money was little again. So I discussed with the guys, and the guys said, you know what, let's just use it as a launch pad, and then we record our music, and then we leave later on. So on Saturday, the 8th of December 1990, we moved to Dangamvura Hotel. So because the salary was very little, we could not afford individual accommodation. So what we did is we just rented a shack in Dangamvura, and all the 6 of us, we used to live there. There was no furniture, just a Prama stove and some blankets, that's it. And it was terrible. And after some time, the manager who was in charge of giving us our salaries, she started cutting off part of the salary. She was a heavy drinker, so remember I said the salary was very little. We couldn't even afford individual accommodation, and so we ended up in very difficult situations. I remember I ended up with no shoes, and one time my mother visited. She wanted to see how we were doing, and we had to put up a show to make sure that she doesn't see the conditions that we were living in. We never took her to the place that we were living. We took her to Chikoko's uncle's house. That's where she slept, and she came to see us perform. And in fact, we lied a lot. We pretended that so my mother came back to Harare. She was very happy that my son is okay, but things were not okay. And we even raised some money. So I think my drinks in. Power nice welcome, but things were bad. But you know me, with years of down I was writing down all the figures. So I said to the band leader, let's confiscate the instruments and force them to give us our money. But band leader Manje was too diplomatic and he refused. And to make it worse, the hotel even started with the band Dawai was offload Panoya Marore Doro. And then I refused to do that, and then the manager called the band leader and said, you need to fire that guitarist because he's stubborn, blah blah. And I said, you know what, that's not my job description. I came here to play music. I did not come to offload my tracks. I did not come here to do manual labor. So my relationship with the hotel managers was not good because of that. And the band leader told the manager we cannot fire him, because if we fire him we'll need 3 replacements, because we play Sungura, we play Mbira music, we play Western music like reggae, rock and so forth. So usually it's difficult to find a guitarist who plays recitals, so we cannot fire him. So packet my tensions. Then the band leader came to Harare to try and organize for us to record. That's when I got my chance. I was the vice band leader and the spokesperson of the band. So Taganane boys, and we confiscated all the instruments and told the managers that we are not going to surrender these instruments until you give us our money. The CEO of the company came when I presented my case. She started mocking me. I thought but wangurungo chigeto chongovhundutsiro because fight ndasingagoni ndaingotemba boys dzangu. They hired the policeman wanga wabhadhara kuti asodibvundutsire but aramba kuvhundutsira. Then vanazoti no hande ku police station. So we went to the police station. We knew that the member in charge was our fan. So we went to him and approached him and told him, you know what, Mkomaga, we are suffering. Look at the clothes that we are wearing. At Nagana Hembe boots Baruka right now as we speak. Saka Vana Wasudot Pamaris, the Tatura instruments, what is the ceremony? This one, member in charge, you know what, I'm your number one fan. And what on Mbiri Usabadaran. This one a Black Saints, one a Kenneth Chikodora, one a Zimbabwe Clay Sounds. This work about same Marizawi Papa. So I mean the roots one. So I don't want you to put the law in your hands. Bring the instruments to me and then I'll force them. So for bombs check Katasuda check for Zunzamari. Then Parakapo Mari. We went and bought clothes with Zuko Harari Chonika. So Parakazuka Harari things were not okay financially. My bandmates started living close to Mahom industry Kwazan. Panamondaranas Dharma Basco, so actually go Kwazan, why it has Okazama Basco. The Angwapo accommodation which Jarata Chei Papa. Then I was living with my mother. So we tried to organize our own shows. So on Thursday, the 17th of October 1991, we held our first show at Fukwa Night Club in Warren Park. And the attendance was not very good because we did not have recorded music. So we did a number of shows. So what used to happen is, if we do a show, the first show would be a flop and then the second show would be slightly better because the band was very tight. To be honest, I've never played with any band that was as tight as that band. And we did some shows in Zoarasekwa, all around. and things were not very good because my instruments were to hire, the instruments were to hire, the transport. Then on Saturday, the 14th of December 1991, something happened. We had hooked up with a promoter by the name of Ted. He was from Zoresekwa, and he organized a show at Mawadzi nightclub. And then we had played a number of times at Mawadzi nightclub. So tatatone mafanzi kuti taitokwanisa kuti takamari katoripo because vanga kutiziva manje. So 30 minutes before the show started, Teddy comes and says, you know what, I'm also the one who manages Pied Piper's band, so we are going to do a show combined with Pied Piper's band. And we said, but Pied Pipers is not on the poster, they're not part of the show, how can they come 30 minutes before? And he said, you know what, I am using their instruments, so they have to play, they are going to play. So after some arguments, we played with Pied Pipers, and they were a tight band, so also a tight band. But as soon as we finished, Pied Pipers said, we've got a bigger name than you, so we cannot share the money equally. And I said, but it's our show, and you were not even advertised on the poster. You came last minute on, so we have to share equally. And they said no. This discussion happened after the show when almost everybody had gone. There was a gentleman, he was much older. He was the only one on our side because Pied Pipers yangene mafanza awo ikudzara siko kwakamira papi start sina manje. Pangangori ne one mudhara wechikuru so ndiyoti but guys man zvamunoita it's unfair. Because the show yangere wapanda dai mavako mari dzawo chichi mungoito 50-50 since chichi mudhara yakarohwa. He was beaten up badly. Zvekuti akatofenda arwa nemafanzi Pied. Zviripo ndikotakaona kuti yeah panapo zvinhu zvashata panapo. Sa one week pakatanga kuita fight navo manje. Ababudisa banga mafanzi Pied vatobudisa mabhiga banga manje. Vatoona kuti hapana patoshata ngatitize takananga kupolice station because tata kutorohwa manje. Saka pakumhanya manje Pied inini I'm not physically fit tereka ndisi munhu wemasports. Ndandine my brother Regis Chipere, and my brother couldn't leave me on anga zvansingati kuti asiye munin'ina wake. Saka tisi tandiri kumashure. My brother was athletic, he's a football player one. Aitogona kutomhanya akasiya munhu wese, but kuti asiye munin'ina manje zvansingati manje. Saingona maingoti mhanya munhu mhanya anongori just a meter away achiti dodzi mhanya. Panoti mfana hapana kwatombosvika mfana is not fit. Then vatoona kuti ngatinzvengene apa tipinde nemudzimba ona. But I'm drinking a lucky enough for it to have an old tournament. So, but I can't pin them in my I did not notice when they popped the wire, man. But I'm not pinning them popped the wire. No, that thing. All I remember is that I remember looking up in the sky, so Shona near it. So that I don't have an Shabara and a coat. So, Saka popped the wire and the Mara body. Yes, I had scratches all over. So, up to now, it's only one scratch. Papa Dum, the Gato Pastor with Pied Piper. Saka patakaona kuti hatikuteerwa manje patazongofamba patasvika kukwadzana netsoka usiku iwa. It was late at night kuma 1 a.m. 2 a.m. Then my friends, my fellow band members rushed to Zoresekwa police station. Pakasvika police station manje, it was their word against word Pied Pipers. Saka zvika ndemapurisa you know what avapfana vachangotanga magitara. Saka just give them $100. You know what pashow ipapa tantaita something like $2,500. I still remember the figures. You know, we had made something like $2,500, but Mapurisa thought I would pay $100 and we were given $100 and we had to share something like $20 each. One. So after that incident, mind you, we sat down and discussed that, guys, it seems like the shows will go around because I music recorded. Taditambo mira. Top piece when you recorded. And then after we record it was a continue. So we decided to take a break as a band. So takamboenda auditions and aitwa RTP so takapinda inini nechikokoko pataita audition yedu. Then takutobuda patasangana somanya ndevle but guys best player wangu ari kuchikauridza muno yandidziro best because aizoti best resungura ndorigoni. Saka napinda pandaridzira somanya ndevle base. So in Monday, but I don't collect them at as well as you can. Each coco were fail because Mono was being too experimental over guitar. But there's so many, and that's no practice and like a person. So on Saturday, the 22nd of February 1992, That was my first time to record. Ndaba nano record na Samantha Ndebele album rake rinonzi Ndingazviite Sei. That was my first time to record after ndatanga magitara 1988, but please abzoeramba achingofoira auditions. So in March 1992, since we had taken a break as a band, I decided to go to Mutare. But in fact, my very first girlfriend had moved to Mutare. And so I joined the Hardworkers band. We played together na Brian Nananga, because the band was run by Brian Nananga's father. But panakazoinoona baby rangu chingosvika baby varatondiramba ka1, saka I was heartbroken pandadzoka back to Harare. But neHardworkers tatamburidza zvedu just a few shows. So I came back to Harare in April 1991, and I joined the Seasons band, Rana Mdara area. So I stayed with the band for 4 months, and I really learned a lot. And that time I was living with Mdara Tichigara ku Rugare ndoko aigara. I learned a lot from that band because Angar Madara Chikura was the youngest, and Madara is a singer. I really appreciate the time I spent with the Seasons. But during that time, one incident which I never forget. We met a young promoter, a new promoter in Dixon Chikaza. Most of you know him because I don't better music. So he organized a show in Alaska, and it was a new group range here also. So I was in the band, and it was on Thursday, 23 July 1992. But then Alaska when you go to poster, you anything in this marriage car, but not marriage good sock. Yeah. So we're stuck. We're in Alaska. We know no one. You know what we did? I know that I got from sick. So Tongo Taura Nya, Tongo get Sakatwita say Makuseni. Then Makuseni, the Patakas no Taura Nemo football team and get we acquired. But guys took transport. We are stuck. We are musicians. The dress what is the show, but there's no Famba Mushi. But I'm like Pinde. But I'm not space. Masitaka Kwandrana. Say Minimaka Mira from here to Harare. So Tatangomira the whole trip. And the second one we borrow knows that we borrow. I said, "Hey guys, Muno Mukundu, Chichu, one guitar, no gazer." So you were running a transport. No, go secure. Was got out Gumbuka Futuno Zingom Pasma. So Tango Chiniro all the way from Alaska mine, you go up to Harare. That's one incident that I'll never forget. You. So after we went for another audition. On Thursday, the 14th of May 1992, we finally recorded this Shikokoko, and this was a dream come true after a long struggle. So we agreed as a band we were going to wait until the album is released. When the album is released, we are going to start my shows once again, because at least one on go to zero. So the album was released. As soon as the album was released, the band leader and I did not agree now, so I left. Then in March 1994, I joined a rumba band called John Allen the Marakashi band. That time rumba doing up fire stirring. We did a total of 13 gigs with the John Allen Marakashi band, but every one of the gigs were flops. Fire since rumba ndiri kupisa, but mazimbabwe ndinongoza kuti wakafarira music yekunze vanodai chiridzo nevanhu vacho varidzivayo. So I remember some of the shows taipedza kuma 1 am 2 am kautaridza pajobs night sport paipa hakuna transport, totombonodziya moto nemastreet kids kusvika kunze kwachena, mozonotamira makombi akutakura madzimai musika, modzokera kumba. It was bad. I worked with the band up to June 1994, and then I left. Then June 1994, there's a guitarist by the name of John Barron. Angaway scores the Lambilia Bell, I think, and then he remained in Zimbabwe. Then he started a group called Kwasa Kwasa Kings, and Mdaraga so focus on the air supply my instruments. So I joined the band. And ndopanda nazo kutanga kugara pasi kudzidziswa rumba guitar, kudzidziswa na John Barron. He was very strict mungozwana werumba kuti zvinjo vano problem yacho. But he taught me a lot. Pama techniques rumba kana kuridza zviri distinct create my melodies and but I learned a lot from that John Baron. But I was in Australia later on. We did a number of shows and they were flops. On Tuesday, the 20th of June 1994, I joined the Gia Gospel Train. I became a Christian. So we worked together for a year with the Gia Gospel Train. And I left the group on the 2nd of May 1995 and joined Rainzi Cliset. It was a group under Christian Life Center in Doyavon's Fig Church Mazon, lead one apostle group. So we used to do my outreach programs. In that time, with a serious session work, I was playing for a lot of groups. And it's also that same period that I received my very first personal guitar from Apostle Samo Manyika on Tuesday, the 3rd of February 1998. In fact, this is the guitar. On Monday, the 3rd of May 1999, I left Fig Church, I left Cliset. And then Barambo joined MN's Revival Center, and then I started working a lot with Elias Msakwa. Barambo music producer ku Ngawongo Records, Zanga Chango Tanga Ngawongo Records from year 2000. Saka Ngawongo Records takazongeta kuti ma disputes because ndandirupiwa credit yangu pama groups under producer, so I left. On Thursday, the 24th of August, year 2000, I went for auditions at Zimbabwe College of Music. After Mkwasha wangu Andrew Mamvura advised me, I think mukaita bepare music, munogono to teach your music because financial state in mawani, munogono to supplement the mareza munotambira maku teach your music. So on the 15th of January 2001, I started Kudzidza College of Music, studying for my national certificate in music. So after some time, I was teacher at the College of Music on my weekends. So during the week I was a student, my weekends no else go. Then I also started teaching at Prince Edward School for that time. Because I was at College of Music, but I'm not going to guitar. Then they asked me to come and teach at Prince Edward School. Financially, I was improve on. Then that time I also released my first album, Anosunza Marumbe. Then I released my second album, Jesu Neni, during that same time. If you still remember the song, 2003, after I finished my certificate, I came back to teach at the Zimbabwe College of Music. I was teaching guitar. On Monday, the 3rd of February 2003, I received a call from Debbie Metcalf, who was Oliver Mtukudzi's manager. So on Tuesday, the 4th of February 2003, I came for the rehearsals, and that's the day I joined Oliver Mtukudzi's band. We started touring around the world, around Africa, and financially, Tuku Badara. And Debbie was a very good manager, and I learned a lot. And that's the time I also bought studio equipment. But one special day that I remember is Friday, the 21st of November 2003. My mother was very sick that time, and somehow she thought that she was going to die, so she asked me to take her to show her Tuku. So she was saying that I cannot die before I see you play with Tuku. So I took her to the show, and it was a very special day for me to have my mother sitting in the crowd, and I introduced her to the band and to Tuku. She passed on later on in 2007, and Tuku also came to the funeral.
Then you played for Tuku. When did you stop that journey with Tuku?
I was fired in 2007. Since I had bought studio equipment when I was part of the band, I started my studio, Monolio Studios, right now. Soon after leaving the band in 2007, Choniso approached me, and I joined on her tours, and we toured together 2007 and 2008. So after 2008, I've just been concentrating on working in my studio, producing music. I've produced a lot of artists from Zimbabwe, from South Africa, from outside Zimbabwe.
Here are a few noteworthy music projects that were recorded at Monolio Studios and produced by Clive Mono Mukundu.
A love song, my lovely country, Zimbabwe.
May your souls rest in peace.
Shika ndindi nongotenga drink koiwewe pese patashika ndindi nongotenga drink koiwewe
anaenda waende mwari wa furaha mama
Chiuyai mwari wangu muvambe neni nilibovu andione
Monolio Studio, the harmony of quality and professionalism.